Getting old sucks. Take it from me. I'm blessed. Let me say this. I'm blessed to be the age that I am. A lot of people would love to have made it to as far as I've made it. And I'm hoping that I see many, many more years on this earth. But getting old sucks. Don't believe me? Ask Tom Brady. Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to the 99th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. So we've got a ton to get to today. Great game last night, wasn't it? And I don't think a lot of you understood that was 2 3-1 football teams. Like, that was a big game. One of the bigger matchups. You could argue the most marquee matchup of week 5 was already played last night. And it played out like a heavyweight fight, like a heavyweight championship fight. Low scoring, tit for tat, back and forth. I thought the officials got a little bit too involved. We'll talk about that because we got to go to the microwave. Some of you are going to go to the fridge. Whatever the case may be, we'll get some Thursday night leftovers. Okay, we'll do that a little bit later on in the show. We'll wrap the show up with some garbage time, and we'll or I should say my money picks of the week. And hopefully that's not garbage. We didn't get off to a great start, obviously. Took Tampa Bay last night. Didn't have the balls. That's my fault. Didn't have the balls to take the Bears. But if you watched the video last night, and if you were with me on Wednesday, then you know what my prediction for the game was. And I said, I said, look, I think the Bears, and I literally said the score. I could see the Bears winning on a late field goal, 20-19. What was the score last night? 20-19. I'm nasty now. I told you. When I'm wrong, I'll admit I'm wrong. But when I'm right, God damn it, I'm going to tell you I'm right. And man, was I right yesterday. That one felt good. Feels good. Anyway, I digress. We got a lot to get to in the Gem Droppin Session. So, you know what? Without any delay, let's get to the Gem Droppin Session, shall we? Let me drop this gem on your melon. Open your mind, let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louie T double E. Let me open you up. Get you thinking a little bit. And so, today's Gem Droppin Session is going to kind of serve as a in case you missed it. We haven't done that in a while, right? So many things have transpired since the last time we've spoken. I think we need to kind of combine the two and almost like a superpower here, okay? So Gem Droppin Session plus in case you missed it. So we got Gem Droppin Session on steroids today. And so the Jets facility, this came down this morning. I woke up to this news. Jets facility being shut down. All the players have been sent home. Staff members have been whisked out of the building. There's a potential positive COVID-19 test for the Jets. And Sunday's game is in the balance right now. It's hanging in the balance. If there is a positive test, it's similar to Cam Newton last week. They're going to see how many others are positive. If this is an isolated situation, they'll carry on the game. Maybe they'll have to push it back to Monday because you got to get all these positives. And they usually want 2 negatives from everyone. So they want everyone to test negative, not once, but twice before they play the game. Now, here's the problem with a positive test on a Friday. If, in fact, this positive test was from today, I'm assuming that I don't think they're getting the results right away. So I would assume this positive test came from a test on Wednesday or Tuesday or something like that. Whatever the case may be, whenever they tested them last, maybe they tested them on Monday. I don't know exactly how the NFL administers their tests. I know they do one on Saturday. I think they do another one on Monday after the game to make sure everybody's straight. And so this might have been a Monday test, whatever the case may be. They're going to want to make sure that everyone else who has been in contact, and they got those contact tracers, so they know how close in proximity this player, if in fact this player has tested positive, has been to everyone else in the building. So they can know, okay, you've been in close proximity with this guy, and this guy. So we're going to check him, and then we're going to check all the people that guy, and that guy have also been in contact. Now everybody's going to get tested again, and they're hoping to get all negatives, but I told you the Titans opened Pandora's box. They popped the top on this COVID-19 thing, and they busted wide open. And they're still giving the gift that unfortunately keeps on giving. Stephon Gilmore, Patriots all-world best corner in the league, has tested positive for COVID-19 as well. And so Patrick Mahomes said, man, that was just an oversight on my part, because Patrick went over, dapped him up after the game, was chumming it up. And, that's what guys do in this league. Game recognized game. Patrick's the best in the business at the quarterback position. Gilmore's the best at the cornerback position. So he just wanted to acknowledge, hey, man, I see what you're doing over there. And you made it tough on me today, but we still got the dub. And he didn't think about COVID-19. And all of us have had those moments. I can't tell you how many times I've been on my way into the gym and I get 4 steps from the front door and I'm like, shit, I don't have my mask on. I can't tell you how many times I've been on my way into the grocery store and I just happen to peek over my left shoulder and I see an old lady walking in and she's putting her mask on. I'm like, shit, I don't have my mask on. And I got to go back to the car. There's no worse feeling right now for me. And, this is minor, right? But there's no worse feeling for me right now than to park way down the street at the grocery store. All right, get all the way to the front door and realize, damn, I don't have my mask. And I got to turn my monkey ass around and go all the way back to the goddamn truck to get my mask. That shit is a really frustrating feeling right now for me. But I digress. Pat just forgot, or excuse me, his mama named him Patrick. I'm gonna call him Patrick. Patrick just forgot, and it's an easy miss because you're not thinking about that. You don't have your mask on at that moment, and he just wanted to dap him up and say, "Hey, good game, man. Maybe we'll see y'all down the road." And so he said, "Yeah, that's my fault," and he didn't know Stephon Gilmore was gonna test positive for COVID-19 2 days later. He couldn't have known. So, it's crazy how these things happen, but it happened, and so. I think it's a reminder, though. Hey, man, you got to be on your P's and Q's, Y's and Z's at all times. You can't fall asleep behind the wheel because anybody could be walking around with COVID. And again, a guy like Mahomes, if he goes out, just like I talked about with Newton, if Mahomes goes out for 2 weeks, more likely than not, that's 2 losses for the Chiefs, depending on who they're playing, obviously. But for instance, this week they got the Raiders. They can't afford to have a game in the division against the Raiders without Mahomes. You're asking for a loss in the division. You know how big of a game that would be? So obviously it's important that you make sure you're taking all of those safety precautionary measures before, after, and during the game, if at all possible. So that was interesting. Gilmore not going to be available. Man, this Broncos game is looking more and more daunting for this Patriots football team. There's an outside shot that Newton may be able to play. There's no way he's playing in this game. How do you play when, if I understand this correctly, I need 14 days for quarantine. That's been the going rate. Unless I don't know something, don't tell me he's tested negative twice in a row and he's good to go. Just give me the 14-day quarantine. That's it. I'll know he's good then. 14 days has been the standard since this whole outbreak started. 14 days of quarantine. Once you test positive, I don't know when you got it. I don't know when you test, when you first got COVID, but 14 days after you test positive, that's the mandatory requirement. So if that's the case, he's going to miss the game versus Denver. Now you're out without your quarterback. You're probably going to start Jarrett Stidham. I can't imagine them going back to Billy Ho after the abomination of a performance that he put together on Monday night. So I'm assuming it's the rookie Jarrett Stidham against Vic Fangio. Now, yeah, they're missing some parts, but Vic Fangio is good enough to take a rookie quarter or a second-year quarterback making his first career NFL start, and he's good enough to turn him into a turnover machine and have Denver win that game. That's very possible. And now you take as a step forward, Brett Rippon made a start last week, made some mistakes, but got his feet wet. All those jitters that he had in the Jets game on Thursday night, they're gone. He has a full week and a half to prepare for this Patriots defense. And they're going to be without the guy that makes this defense go, because everything Bill Belichick does is predicated off of Stephon Gilmore taking away your number one wide receiver. So you go into that game without your best offensive player and your best defensive player. They should still win, but I'm leaning heavily towards thinking about my pick here and thinking maybe Denver has a shot here. I don't know. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. However, Gilmore test is positive. He's going to be out this game as well. This COVID-19 thing is really starting to hit its stride. And I told you, this was the worry. As we get closer to flu season, this was the worry. This was the thought process that I had when I said, I don't know if we're going to make it through this season. And I've said this already, so I don't want to reiterate this too much. I don't really want to spend too much time on this because I've already made my position known that if I were the league, I would have punished Tennessee. We're not going to go above and beyond the call of duty to placate you because you decided to F up. All of these games being scheduled in all of these various places and all these reschedules have all been set off on the chain of events by Tennessee. So let's go through all of this because we've got 2 more reschedules and a possible third depending on one of the reschedules that we're going to talk about here. This is crazy. But again, remember before the season started, what did I say? I said this season isn't going to be fair. And I listened to Ben Roethlisberger on a show. I can't remember what show I was watching. I saw a little tidbit on Twitter and he said, we got the short end of the stick. This isn't fair. And I told you, this season, not going to be fair. So if you're going to talk about fair, you might as well not sign up for this year in the NFL. 2020 season, not going to be fair. And he said, yeah, we got the short end of the stick. First of all, they didn't get to enjoy a real bye week. Because when you're on a true bye week, you're away from the team, you're away from the facility, unless you're getting treatment, unless you got an injury, then you still come in, you get your treatment and things of that nature, you do your rehab, whatever the case may be. However, if you're good to go, then you can go and get away for a week. They didn't get to do that. They literally were preparing to play the Titans up until Thursday when they got the word. So they were at the team facility on Wednesday. They were still going through the motions because they didn't know what was going to happen with the game. So they were still preparing. They were installing the game plan for that week's game. And so they still had to come to work. They still had to approach that week as if they were playing a game on Sunday or Monday or Tuesday. They didn't know. And then they got word on Thursday, all right, we're going to postpone this game until, a later date and time. TBD. All right. And so he said, yeah, that's bullshit. And take it a step further, guess what? You're taking away our middle of the season bye, which was perfect. And you're now giving us a week 4 bye. Now we got to play the rest of the season without a bye week. And we're a veteran club. We got some older players that they needed that bye week to be where it was. We got that bye week. We liked that bye week. And now you're forcing us to adjust and we didn't do anything wrong. That's the reason why if I was the league, I'm not going to placate Tennessee. I'm not looking to make accommodations for them for effing up. And so here's the chain of events that have been essentially the domino effect. Now, the Cam Newton positive test, now with the Stephon Gilmore positive test, it's caused the Denver New England game to be moved from Sunday, all right, at 1 to now Monday at 5:05. So that's the first domino effect from the Stephon Gilmore positive test. They had to test everybody else to make sure everybody was straight. Everybody else up until today, and they got another round of tests for the Patriots. All players have come back negative, so they're good to go. Monday, 5:05. We're gonna get another 2 Monday night games, which I actually kind of liked. I was feeling that whole thing. I don't know if I would love it every week, but I was cool with it. Now, I was cool with the format that we had last week of a 7:10 and a 9 o'clock. This 5:05 is in the way. This is in the way. I got shit going on at 5 o'clock in the evening. This is way too early for a football game. But again, beggars can't be choosers, and I told you the season wasn't going to be fair. So I can't talk about not being fair for the players and fans and then want to complain when they make an adjustment to the schedule. I just got to go with the flow. So that game will be over. I think they didn't like overlapping games. I think they want this game done by the time the primetime Monday night game gets kicked off at 8:20. So I think that's why they put it at 5:05. Anyway, that game's been moved. Okay. So we'll still get that game in week 5 as scheduled, just a day later than it was originally planned. Now, here's the domino effect from the Tennessee Titans debacle. And they got players over here off script doing things that they're not supposed to be doing. First of all, these young boys just don't get it, man. You got to stay off of socials. If you want to go and do an impromptu practice, which you're not supposed to do because there's an outbreak with your team, and if one of you is walking around with COVID and you get together to do a practice so that you stay sharp, guess what? You're breaking the rules because one of you could have it, the other 7 of you don't, and now all 8 of you have COVID because you decided to get together. You're not wearing your contact tracers, obviously. More likely than not, you're not wearing masks. You trust the guys that you're with, so you're thinking we're all good, but you're not all good. And more guys have gotten it, including wide receiver Corey Davis. So the Titans, they're just effing up on the Tennessee Titans. Make them pay. The league isn't going to do it, though. They refuse to do it. Well, that's your fault. So now you got all these domino effects that are happening because of the COVID situation in Tennessee, and they're still trying to get it squared away. Still getting positive tests. Still trying to get everybody back into the facility, but you got to make sure you got 2 straight negatives before you can let everybody back into the building. The Buffalo game now has been impacted in week 5. And we knew that was a possibility after last week's situation that, hey, we could be in a spot where they may not even play week 5. At this point, I'm like, just bust these dudes over the skull. Stop moving games around for them. So now the Buffalo game is moved to Tuesday at 6. Now we're getting Tuesday football. I don't like when you start interrupting days that don't need to be interrupted. I like my Tuesdays to be open and free. Now, I told you I won't turn football down whenever you give it to me. If you were going to give me football 7 days a week, I'll take football 7 days a week. But I don't do Tuesday night football. That's not on the schedule. I'm looking at my schedule right now. I don't see Tuesday night football on it. I don't see Wednesday night football on it. Okay? I don't do Friday night football. I like my Fridays. I like to snuggle up cozy with my bae, Netflix and chill. I don't want to watch football on Friday because I don't have that embedded in my schedule. Don't start coming for my days because of the Tennessee Titans. Now, again, I told you this season is not going to be fair, so I can't bitch about them having to make adjustments. But for these Titans in particular, I don't like that shit. So here's the thing that really pisses me off, though. So the Titans game is moved to Tuesday. Fine, I get it. You want to make sure everybody's good. That's the point. You want to make sure that all of these guys that are going to play in this game are negative. Got it. Okay, check. If the game goes off without a hitch on Tuesday, now the Bills were supposed to play the Chiefs on Thursday Night Football, that same week. And that was going to be a hell of a game. The Bills and the Chiefs are currently 4-0. This is a game we're all looking for. We want this on prime time television. Like, the schedule makers couldn't have drawn this up any better. Wow. We've been complaining about these Thursday night games and how trash some of them have been. This is a gem that they dropped in our lap. And now it's being taken from us because of the damn Tennessee Titans. Because the Bills have to move this game to Tuesday. They can't turn around and play 2 days later. So now their game gets pushed to Sunday. But there's a caveat. If this game against Tennessee isn't played at all in week 5, instead of being played on Tuesday, let's say there's another positive test for the Titans and they say, to hell with it, we can't play this game. We'll have to reschedule it for another week later in the season. Then the Kansas City game against Buffalo goes back to Thursday. This is just crazy. This is insane. And this is all because of the damn Tennessee Titans. Just give them 2 losses and let's move on. God damn. Anyway, I digress. So a lot's going on there. Anyhow, Tyron Smith, in case you missed it, Tyron Smith, the Cowboys Pro Bowl All-Pro left tackle, done for the year as he's going to have neck surgery. I told you guys, I think about 6 months ago, I said he's never going to be the same player. Once we start talking about 2 things in particular, I never look at a guy the same. You can come back from an ACL. You can come back from an Achilles. It may take you a little bit longer with an Achilles than an ACL, but you can come back from an Achilles. I've seen guys do it, play well. When you start using the B word and you start using the N word, I don't know, man. Your career might never be the same. When you start using the back and you start talking to me about your neck, those are the 2 I don't play games with. Like Leighton Vander Esch, I told you guys this last season. He's going to have his career shortened with neck concerns. Because remember, coming out of Boise State, that was one of his issues. That's why the Cowboys had apprehension about pulling the trigger, but they did all of their homework. The medical staff said, hey, he checks out, he's fine. So they pulled the trigger on him in the first round. But the apprehension was behind his neck and some of the concerns that they had with him having neck issues at Boise. They've reared their ugly head. This is 2 years in a row where he's missed significant games due to a neck injury. He just had neck surgery. I don't know how much longer Leighton Vander Esch is going to be able to play football. That's number one. Now you go to Tyron Smith, and he's having neck injuries and issues. Now he's got to have surgery on his neck. I'm not saying, I'm just saying, I'm telling you right now, when you start talking about necks and backs, those are the two things. And I'm like, I saw Tracy McGrady go from an elite NBA basketball player to a shell of himself in like a 2-3 year span. Meanwhile, Grant Hill, who had 87 ankle and foot surgeries, came back and had a very good end to his career after looking like his career was going to be marred by injuries. You can fix an ankle, you can fix a knee, an Achilles. You cannot go on with your back having issues. You cannot go on with your neck. Those are two things you don't play around with. So, I don't know. Those guys may see their careers cut short. Washington had a hell of a left tackle for many years. And had he played 5 more years and played at the level that he'd been playing at early in his career, who knows? We might have been talking about a Hall of Fame career. Probably not. I doubt it. I don't think he made enough Pro Bowls. I don't think he made, ever was an All-Pro, never really considered the best at his position. But Chris Samuels was a hell of a football player for Washington for many years at the left tackle position. And he had stenosis of the spine, which is the narrowing of the spine. Forced him to call it quits only after 9 years. And we know, as tackles in this league, if you keep your body in shape and you stay relatively healthy, you can play 15, 16, 17 years. Look at Andrew Whitworth. The tackle position is one of those positions that if you keep yourself in shape and you're able to steer clear of big-time injuries, you can play a long time in this league. Jackie Slater played like 20 years for the same team. You can do it in this league at that position. So to have your career cut short at 9 years says a lot. But again, that's why I don't play around with the neck and I don't play around with the back. And so Tyron Smith's season being cut short, has to have neck surgery. I don't know the extent of the neck surgery. I've never pretended to be a doctor, and I did not sleep at a Holiday Inn last night. However, again, I've seen enough of these to know that the back and the neck are two things you just don't play around with. So for whatever it's worth, he's done for the season. The Cowboys have had issues up front along their offensive line, although at times they've done a really good job, but they've had their fair share of issues. They've been playing musical chairs along that offensive line, both at left and right tackle, because if you also remember, the right tackle, the kid out of LSU, has been dealing with some injuries, and he's been out for much of the season. And so they've been doing some magical tricks along that offensive line just to give Dak enough time to survey the field and do the things that he's done. Again, 3 straight weeks of 450 yards passing plus for Dak, including a 502-yard performance in week 4 versus the Cleveland Browns. Now, a lot of this was necessitated by the fact that the Cowboys are down big in all of these games for the most part, with the exception of Seattle, and it forced them to take the air, and teams are playing soft and giving them anything they want underneath. But at some point, you got to turn the faucet off, and once this offense gets revved up, they're hard to stop, and you got to give some credit to some of these guys on the offensive line for giving Dak the time to push the football down the field. In any event, that's going to do it for the Gem Droppin Session, man. Let's get to the Thursday night leftovers. And, man, tell you what, man, I'm really feeling like some lukewarm pizza right now, straight out of the microwave, even though I didn't heat it up. So let's go get these Thursday night leftovers. What do you say? All right, you can go heat yours up if you like. I'll wait a second for you to go ahead and do that. I'm just going to eat mine straight out of the box. I'm good. I don't need any reheat. All right. So 20-19 Chicago Bears victory over the Buccaneers last night in a thrilling football game that I thoroughly enjoyed. I think most of you did as well. Felt like the officials, as I said at the top of the show, got a little bit too involved in this game. You never really want the officials to be a topic of discussion when the game is over. Thought they were a little bit too involved. But again, I've said this many a times. generally speaking, even when the officials are too hands-on in a ball game, they're not the reason for the loss. There are so many plays that we can point to and say, hey, you had a chance to do this, you missed. Like Brady, first quarter, had a chance to hit the tight end for a touchdown. He missed him, okay? They ended up having to settle for a field goal on that possession. You lost the game by 1 point. These are things that you look at when you go back and say, hey, we had opportunities, we didn't get it done. Now, the officials did have a big say in the outcome. I'm not taking that away from Buccaneers fans. I talked to quite a few of them after the game last night who were there for the overtime show, and they weren't happy about the officiating, nor should they have been. But it wasn't the reason they lost this game, okay? Just like in the Saints and Rams playoff game from 2018, when the Saints fans went nuts, oh my God, they cost us. You had a chance to still win that game. You won the toss and got the football to start overtime. That play was huge in the outcome, but you still had a chance to win the game. It's not like that missed call was on 4th down, and now, because you didn't call that, you lose the game by 1 point because you couldn't get in the field goal range. Or you lose the game by 4, and that would have given you a 1st down and 10 from the 11-yard line. Like, then you could say, yeah, we lost the game because of that play. But in the grand scheme of things, they still had opportunities, did Tampa Bay, to win this football game. You know, you get the football back with Tom Brady and 1:13 left. You're thinking, hey, you just messed up, Matt Nagy. And that's what we start with our Thursday night leftovers. Matt Nagy and his decision to throw it on 2nd and 3rd down. The man doubled down on a do decision. You see all the D's I just did there? And I did more. How can you rationally, in your mind, make sense and say this with conviction to your players that this is a smart decision? We're going to throw it on 2nd and 9. But coach, the Bucs still have a timeout. Don't you want to use it? No. Trust me, I got this. I'm Matt Nagy. Run the play. It's incomplete. Now it's 3rd and 9. Hey, coach, you think we should run it here? The Bucs still got a timeout. No. We've already thrown it on 2nd down, so it doesn't matter whether they got a timeout or not. They're still going to have plenty of time. If we get the 1st down, then we got a chance to kick a walk-off field goal. Trust me, I got it. Don't worry about it. They throw it again. He got bailed out by the fact that the pass was caught on 3rd and 9. It was short of the sticks, but it was complete, so it forced the Buccaneers to burn their 3rd and final timeout. Had that pass been incomplete, not only would they have only burnt off, a minute and some change and still left Brady with 1:13 and a timeout, but they would have given them back the opportunity to win this game with a timeout in their back pocket. It's one thing to give Brady back the ball with 1:13 and no timeouts, which they ultimately did. It's another thing to give Brady the ball back with 1:13 and a timeout at his disposal. Now you're asking for a loss. And man, did I want it so bad after he made that decision. That was not the right decision. He got bailed out by his defense and Brady being old. Speaking of which, the next leftover is, man, getting old sucks. Man, old age is a sumbitch. Now, again, I want to get as old as I possibly can, man. I hope the Lord has it in store for me to get gray and old and I get to see grandbabies and all of that good stuff down the line 100 years from now. But when you're in the process of getting old, it sucks. And Brady last night had one of those old man moments where he's like, hey, it's that was 3rd down, right? It's 4th down, right? No, your whole team is off the field on the sidelines. The Bears offense is on the field ready to take the victory formation. And he's still on the field trying to convince everyone else that he's right, that it's 4th down. No, Thomas, it's not 4th down. That was 4th down, Thomas. The game's over. You lost. So I don't recall him having one of these brain farts in New England. Do you? Man, it sucks getting old. But it happens to the best of us. And we've talked about this. He's the best 43-year-old quarterback I've ever seen in my life. I mean, he's aging so well. Whatever they're doing at that TB12 facility, it's working because he looks damn good. But mentally, He lost it for a second. I gotta say, I gotta blame that on being 43 years old. No, I don't. I'm just poking fun because I can. I digress. Vita Vea, done for the year with a broken ankle. And if anybody that saw that play, they knew that doesn't look good. That does not look good for Vita Vea. And to see a big man like that on the ground, rolling and writhing in pain, you knew it was bad. How bad, we didn't know at the time. Now we've been told that he broke his ankle, done for the season. That's a big loss to that Buccaneers defense because they stopped the run as well as anybody in the league. I don't think Golston gets enough credit for what he does inside. William Golston, not Vernon. William Golston is one of the better interior defensive linemen when you're talking about stopping a run in the league. And not enough people know his name because he plays for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But this guy is really effective. You put Vita Vea next to him, and then you also put Ndamukong Suh in the mix. And all of a sudden, you're like, how are you going to run the football consistently against the Bucs? Well, teams generally don't. And you saw it last night. Now, the Bears aren't that effective at running the football anyway. However, if a team isn't great at running the football, then what are you supposed to do? Shut their ass down. That's what they did. So that's a big loss for them. And he had a sack last night. You're hoping that maybe this guy can start to get a little bit of pressure on the quarterback. That's a big loss for the Bucs as Vita Vea now done for the season with a broken ankle. Another Thursday night leftover is, we have to talk about this. And I didn't talk about it last night because I was specifically saving it because this is a podcast topic. This is not a after the game's over, real take analysis. We got to talk about this Khalil Mack hip toss of Tristan Wirfs. That was some WWE textbook, Stu Hart, how you coach it up down in the dungeons in Canada, hip toss. Like that is, you would have thought that he sold it because it was so clean and so well done. Khalil Mack, if you weren't watching, gets to Tom Brady on his first sack of the night. He would have 3, only 2 would count. One was negated on I thought was a bogus personal foul penalty on Khalil Mack where he didn't hear the whistle. I don't think they said he slammed Brady down. Okay, whatever. Okay, so they throw the flag. There was a holding on the play. It negated his sack. He had 3 sacks on the night. We only counted for 2 of them though. So the first sack though of the night, he gets to Brady, and as he gets to Brady, Tristan Wirfs is still trying to block him, and the play's over with. And Khalil Mack had enough. And he takes with one arm, he takes Tristan Wirfs, the irony in this is so beautiful. It's so flavor delicious. Poetic scripture. It's so delicious, this irony. Tristan Wirfs was a all-state wrestler in high school. Shot put, everything. Tremendous athlete. So the irony here is this is the wrestler that's getting hip tossed. So he continues to block Khalil Mack, who is like, dude, why are you still touching me? The play is over. I got the sack already. Stop blocking me. And he's still blocking it. And Khalil Mack had enough. And he just takes him and he just hip tosses him. Mind you, this is a 325-pound man of muscle. Tristan Wirfs is tremendous athlete. We saw him run at the combine. It's a guy that ran a sub-4 840 at the combine. True athlete here that we're talking about in Tristan Wirfs. Every sense of the word. But he's huge. He's humongous. And Khalil Mack flips him over like he's a 150-pound featherweight. It was amazing to watch. And I had to rewind it when I was watching it live because I'm like, did he just do that? Or did he jump and help him? Like, are they choreographing this? Is this a wrestling match? Or did he just take a 325-pound man and just hip toss him like it was nothing? And that's what he did. Man, is Khalil Mack strong or what? That was beautiful too. Textbook. Again, I used to watch wrestling as a kid. I used to try the moves at home. They tell you, don't try this at home. And they're right. I almost had a friend be paralyzed because of a wrestling move. That's another conversation for another day. We'll talk about that when we have nothing to talk about. But that was perfectly executed by Khalil Mack. That was impressive. If he wants some WWE action, in the offseason, on some Gronk type stuff, there's a future for him because that was textbook. Anyway, I digress. Can the Bears win with Nicholas Foles? That's the next leftover from last night. There were some questions by people like, man, the Bears, they should have got Cam Newton. They should have got Andy Dalton. They should have done this. They should have done that. Nicholas Foles is fine. He's fine. No, last night wasn't great. The week before that wasn't awesome either. But we know. And I thought Joe Bucs said, and I said this last night, and I talked about Joe Bucs' comments. When Nicholas Foles gets hot, and Joe Bucs said Nicholas Foles is streaky, and he is. When he gets hot, he can outduel Tom Brady. We've seen it. When he's not hot, we've seen Nicholas Foles not hot, okay? And when he's not hot, he's not hot. So, I get it. And you're saying, well, why not just go with Mitchell Trubisky? His mama named him Mitchell. I'm going to call him Mitchell. Look, someone last night said, this offense looks more dynamic with Mitchell Trubisky. I don't think the word dynamic and Mitchell Trubisky should go in the same sentence. Let's start there. However, you do have more diversity with Mitchell Trubisky in the offense because of his legs. Nicholas Foles is not running anywhere. So there's a stark contrast between what you can and can't do. I liken it to when Nicholas Foles was in Philadelphia and they wanted to run read option. When you go back to the Chip Kelly days, you thought, how is it that Nicholas Foles is going to be successful when Chip Kelly wants to run read option and he wants his quarterback to be a running threat and Nicholas Foles isn't? Well, sometimes just the threat of you using your legs is enough to keep a defense honest. And so there was that 27-2 year in Philadelphia with Nicholas Foles and Chip Kelly. And even last year or 2 years ago when they won the Super Bowl, 3 years ago when they won the Super Bowl, and he came in and Wentz was using his legs in some read option stuff and the RPO became a big thing. Foles was still a run threat to a degree. And so I said all of that to say this. Foles can move. He's not a statue back there. It's not ideal. You do not want him running. With Trubisky, it was a part of the game plan. Like, let's get Mitchell out on the edge. Let's get Mitchell a couple of touches where he's running the football, whether it's a quarterback draw or it's read option. He pulls it, keeps it, and runs for 7. That was a part of the offense with Mitchell Trubisky under center. Now it's not. That's fine. They feel more confident in Nicholas Foles' ability to run this offense, get them in the right place, set the right protections, and be accurate with the football. He was not as accurate as you would like him to be last night. He'll get better. I got confidence in him. And as long and the thing about Nicholas is that he's a veteran that knows how to minimize the turnovers. Like the one pick he threw last night wasn't a great throw, but if the ball doesn't get kicked in the air by Allen Robinson trying to adjust to it, it's not going to get picked off. So he's a guy that can take care of the football. You know, every now and again, you'll get a stinker in there. You'll get a 3-interception game from Nicholas Foles. But for the most part, he's going to take care of the football. And if you take care of the football with this Bears defense, if they're able to remain healthy, they're going to have a chance this season. So I think they like Nicholas Foles and the stability that he brings to the offense. And I think they can win with him. Can they win a Super Bowl? Now that I don't know. But if there's one thing we can say, Nicholas Foles has already shown that he is capable of winning a Super Bowl. So you can't say, well, they can't win with Nicholas Foles. Why the hell not? The next leftover from last night is, can the Bears correct their issues by week 12? So I made up this imaginary week in my head of where these issues have to be cleared out for them to have a chance. Because last night was one of those weeks where if you're a Bucs fan, you got to flash back to last year and the year before that and the year before that of undisciplined Bucs football that cost you games. An offensive line that was uneven and unsteady, and it helped contribute to the loss last night. You got a glimpse into a team that still is trying to figure out how to win. And that's okay. They're a young team with a veteran quarterback that is trying to show them the way. And so this is a part of the process. However, you can't be having this same conversation in week 14 or week 16. So by week 12, you may have one or two more of these heading into week 12. You know, you may do this again in week 7 and again in week 10. But by week 12, you can't have 11 penalties for 109 yards. That's losing football. You can't have 8 quarterback hits on Tom Brady, including 3 sacks. Again, That's losing football, okay? And you can't be 4 of 14 on third downs. Again, that's losing football. Now, the 4 of 14 on third downs, I will concede that the Bucs were really banged up. Talked about that last night. Because of this game being played on a short week on a Thursday night, half of their receiving core was out. And we'll talk about the significance of that a little bit later on, but they got to clean those issues up by week 12. They've got to be more proficient on third down. They can't have Brady getting hit damn near 10 times in a game and getting sacked 3 times. And they have to limit the penalties. The penalties were the most alarming thing last night. Some of them ticky-tack, some of them unnecessary, including the one that I thought changed the game, which was the roughing the passer penalty on Shaq Barrett, which was garbage. However, you got to limit the penalties. Too many mistakes, that's going to get you beat every single time. And so they've got to be better. Got to clean that up by week 12. Can't be talking about these same issues in week 13 and 14 as we start to wind down the regular season. If we're still having this conversation about this team, it means that they're not ready. They're not ready this year to make a run at something serious. So they're going to have to fix some of these issues. Tyler Johnson, the Bucs' 5th-round wide receiver, not getting a lot of run early on in his career. And again, he's a 5th-round receiver. A lot of growing pains for a young guy coming from the collegiate ranks on a team that's really deep at receiver. But with all the injuries last night, he got some run. And he had a nice catch and run last night, and it got me to thinking, this guy has some talent, man. They got to find ways to get him more involved. And I'm not saying that they need to have a package for him where he's getting 7 targets a game. They got too much talent for that. When Chris Godwin comes back, Mike Evans heals up with Scotty Miller in the slot, and even Justin Watson, they got so much stuff out there that he's an afterthought, and he should be. But he showed me enough last night for me to feel like, hey, if you can get this young guy involved a little bit more, build his confidence up. If you need him, say Justin Watson goes down and Mike Evans is struggling with an injury. If you need him in week 11, you give him some snaps now and some touches. It'll build his confidence for when you have to have it. You don't have to have him now because you got so much talent and so many guys. But later on in the season, you may need Tyler Johnson. I think I like what I see out of him. And I think he's a guy that may be able to help, and you may ultimately have to rely on him at some point later in the season. The Bears need to distribute the football is my last leftover from last night. We talked about that. And, I'll even add in a side note that I love the fact that they're using Cordero Patterson as their new Tariq Cohen. They need that part of their offense that's missing with no Tariq Cohen. That guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield, stick his foot in the ground, make somebody miss out in space. And if you make a mistake, he can make you pay because he's got speed as well. So they're missing that element with no Tariq Cohen. You get it back with Cordero Patterson. They used him as more of a guy to catch it out of the backfield. We've seen him get tosses and carries out of the backfield before. That's not new. Even when Tariq Cohen was healthy, he was a fixture in the run game. But now to throw it to him out of the backfield, I think is a different wrinkle that we didn't see before. And I like that. But I'll take it a step further. They need to distribute the football better. I didn't think there were enough targets for Anthony Miller last night. I like Darnell Mooney, their rookie out of Tulane. I want to see him get more involved. And he had a chance for a big play, and Foles missed him wide open. He was 5 yards behind the defense. Foles overshot him. He had pressure, but I don't care. Got to hit that. They just need to distribute the football more. Jimmy Graham needs to be more of a presence, not just in the red zone. So I think they've got enough weapons out there to be a credible offense. And I think they've got enough stuff around Nicholas Foles. And David Montgomery, as we saw in that final possession of the game for the Bears, he can be a part of the receiving game too. One of the things I loved about him, why I was so enamored with him coming out of Iowa State, is that he wasn't just a running back. He's a guy that can do so many things. He can catch it out of the backfield. So use him as a threat to catch it too. So I think there's enough stuff for the Bears to play around with. They just need to do a better job of distributing the football and not just forcing it to Allen Robinson, which isn't a bad option either. Okay, but there's enough stuff out there that they need to spread the football around. Anyway, I digress. That's enough of the leftovers. I'm a little full. Now, let's get to the main event of the evening. It's showtime. I'm talking about my week 5 money picks of the week. Money, yeah. Money, yeah. Let's get it. So, off to a rough start this week on my money picks of the week. Am I happy about this? No. I'm not happy about this at all. However, I'm not discouraged like I was 2 weeks ago when I lost the Jacksonville-Miami game. Not discouraged this week because I saw that one coming off in the distance, and I didn't have the balls to pull the trigger. Can't be upset when you don't have the stones to go out on a limb. When you think it's okay to conform and be like everybody else, you deserve a loss. So I will take that one on the chin. I deserve that. I'm looking at the rest of the slate on Sunday, and this looks like a pretty clean slate. I think it's top to bottom, easy pickings. Okay? I don't feel any apprehension on the slate except for maybe one or two games. Every week this season, there's been about 5 or 6 games where I'm like, man, this could go either way. I'm going to stick with what my convictions tell me is going to happen, but I could see this going in a multitude of different ways. I don't feel that way this week. I look at this list of games, and I feel really confident in all of the selections that I've made. Now that I'm looking at it again, I lied. There's about 4 games up here that I'm like, could go anyway, but I feel good about my picks. So, after last week's performance, I am 40. What is it? How many weeks? We played 4 weeks of football. We've had supposed to be 64 games, but because of the one game that wasn't played, 63 games. I was 13-3, 13-3, 10-6, and 11-4. So let's see. 13-3, 13-3 is 26-6. I was then 10-5-1. So that is 36-11-1. And then I went I went 10-5-1. So that's 36-11-1. And then I went 11-4 last week. So that's 47-15-1, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm sitting pretty is what I'm trying to tell you. And I'm 4-0 on my survivor picks as well. So I'll have that written down next time. Normally I write down my record overall for these picks as I keep a running tally all season long. And also I'm in the winners and losers league, and I keep a running tab there. So I'm 4-0 on the survivor picks as well. I don't feel as good this week on my survivor pick as I have the first, 4 weeks. And I've had some dicey calls. Last week I picked the Rams. They made me sweat into the fourth quarter. Week 2 I took the Bears. That was a questionable deal there, but they got it done. This week I saved my Kansas City Chiefs get out of jail free card for a moment like this where there is nothing else on the board that is a surefire lock. So I'm going to use my Kansas City Chiefs get out of jail free card, but you know how I am about family business, so I don't like doing this. But I don't have a choice. I feel like I've been backed into a corner and I don't have a choice, but we'll get there. So I'm 0-1 with the Bucs losing. I should have picked Chicago. I didn't, and it is what it is. So now we get to Sunday slate of games, and we start with what we should have been starting with Buffalo, Tennessee. That's been moved, as we talked about already, to Tuesday at 6 p.m. So we'll come back to that game later on because now that's the last game on the slate. Jacksonville at Houston. It's amazing to me that a lot of people seem to think that Houston's going to win this game. I am one of them. Count me as one of them. Usually when you fire a head coach in season, you're good for a 1 week boost where everyone rallies around the interim head coach and they want to win one for the old Gipper. Now, Romeo Crennel is a veteran in this league. It's not like the tight ends coach who is, been in obscurity for the last 15 years is finally getting a shot. And you want to win it for that guy. Similar to when Joe Philbin, the last time a guy's been fired this early in the season, you got to go all the way back to like 2015 when Joe Philbin got canned for the Dolphins. And they gave the job to Dan Campbell. You remember that? Dan Campbell looked so confused on the sidelines. He had no clue if he was coming or going. But they found a way to go to Tennessee and win. And he was so excited. And you could see the Dolphins wanted to get that for Joe Philbin. And they did. You're gonna get a similar situation here. This is family business. So the Texans know the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars aren't very good. Even though they've been playing competitive football, they don't know how to win. But that's funny saying that because the Texans don't have a win. The Jacksonville Jaguars do. And so I'm amazed that everyone just looks at Jacksonville and says, no. Despite you having a win, you really suck. And I'm like, the Texans really suck. They're 0-4. They're like, no. But no, the Jaguars really, really suck. And I'm like, no. The Texans really, really suck. They haven't won a game yet. And we're like, but they got Deshaun Watson. They'll be fine. Give me the Texans. And you know what? For me pointing my finger and wagging at them, I feel the same exact way. Like, Jacksonville, despite them being competitive, I'm like, they're the Jaguars. And the Texans are going to win this game, and they got Deshaun Watson. At some point, they're going to win a game, right? Why not this week? I've been saying this now. I don't think Houston's going to factor into that division anymore. I said that last week, so I'm off that train. But I do think that this stretch was really doable, and that's why they needed to beat Minnesota. They could have been in the midst of a win streak if they could have beaten Minnesota last week. Here's Jacksonville. And then I think they get like the Packers somewhere in there, and that's a toughie, but they get Jacksonville again, and then there's another winnable game in there against a team that I think they can take. They had a chance, but they blew it. But they can win this game, and I think because of the firing of Bill O'Brien and reports where he got into it with J.J. Watt, that's what got him fired right there. He could have gotten into it with anybody else on the team. You're getting into it with J.J. Watt, not Mr. America. Okay, you got to go, man. Get him out of there. So they're going to try to win this one for Romeo Crennel. I'll take Houston in this game to get their first win of the season. Cincinnati at Baltimore. There's been some questionable. It's been a question as to whether Lamar Jackson was going to play in this game earlier in the week. Didn't practice Wednesday. Didn't practice Thursday. That's when I started to get alarmed. And then they were like, don't sound the alarm. He's fine. He'll play. I'm like, you sure? They're like, yeah. He's going to play. Okay, cool. I just needed to know because I don't trust Bob Griffin at all. So Cincinnati right now is playing with some confidence. They should have beat Philadelphia 2 weeks ago. They did beat Jacksonville last week. So they think that they can win. They're a young group, so they don't know any better. They don't know that they're supposed to go to Baltimore and get run. All right, they don't know that they're supposed to lose this game 33-13. They think they've got a shot. And that's always the scary thing with these young teams is that they don't know better. They don't know that, hey, you're outmatched and outclassed here. Just go in there, take your lumps, and get out of there, hopefully relatively healthy. They're like, why can't we win this game? That's why the young teams are scary, man, because they don't know no better. And so if Lamar's not right, they could go in there and sneak these boys. It's family business. You know how this goes. However, let's not talk crazy. The Ravens are the better team. Lamar is going to play. Lamar is fine, and they'll find a way to win the game. And I truly believe that. And I've got Baltimore taking care of business at home against the Cincinnati Bengals. You want to win the division if you're Baltimore. Can't lose to Cincinnati. Sorry, can't happen. Carolina at Atlanta. This is another game where I'm like, man, I'm tripping. Because it's the same premise as the Jacksonville-Houston game. Family business between two family members. The one at home has no wins. The one on the road is playing some good football. They're at least playing competitive football. And in the case of Carolina, they're playing more than competitive football. They've won 2 in a row, all right, against 2 quality opponents. Don't let the records fool you. The Los Angeles Chargers are a quality football team, despite their 1-3 start in the season. They're a quality football team. Then they go home and beat Arizona, who was previously undefeated. They lost to the Detroit Lions the week prior, but you thought they were going to bounce back on the road against Carolina. They weren't going to go to Carolina and lay a stinker, and they did. And you got to credit the Carolina Panthers for forcing that stinker from Kyler Murray, who really struggled in that ball game, and limiting what is a dynamic and explosive offense to just 20 points, 21 to be exact. So Carolina's playing with some confidence now. And I'm thinking to myself, why are you doing this? Atlanta can't beat anybody. Even when they get up big, you're thinking, all right, how are they going to blow this one? Like, they can't win a game. What makes you think that they're qualified to beat Carolina? I don't know. Stop asking. I just know that Atlanta's at home. They're not going to go winless this season. It's family business. The Panthers, while they've been impressive the last couple of weeks, they're still the Panthers. They're still growing pains to come. And just when they think they're turning the corner this year and they're going to be better than everybody thinks, You get a rude awakening on the road at Atlanta. I'll take the Falcons. Dan Quinn is effectively coaching for his job. Now, I think he's already fired. However, he's effectively coaching for his job. You drop to 0-5 against a Panthers team that's you might see Dan Quinn fired after this game. He's got to win. He's got to win. I'll take Atlanta. That might be a mistake, but I'm going to go with Atlanta in this football game. It's family business, man. Las Vegas Raiders at the Kansas City Chiefs. So this is the game that I've elected as my sole survivor pick. You know the rules to the game in play. I do not like picking family business matchups. I just don't, because the teams know each other so well. Anything can happen. Throw the records out the window. However, the Chiefs are, to me, the safest bet inside of any division in any conference. When you're talking about dominance over the rest of the teams in the division, they're the one team that looks at everybody else and says, hey, we're a safe bet, especially at the crib. We're going to take care of business. Don't you worry. Now, they got a scare from the Chargers. That's the one team in the division I think has a legitimate shot at beating them. Now, if the Raiders get some of their players back healthy, maybe they make it a game. But they don't want to get into a shootout with the Chiefs. They don't want to do that. They really don't want that kind of smoke. And I just don't see the Raiders stopping this Chiefs offense. I just don't. So, after a rough go of it on Monday, I think they come back with a big effort and win this game. And so I'll take the Chiefs for the win and to keep me alive in my sole survivor pool. Cardinals at the Jets. I wanted to make this my survivor pick, but the Cardinals have been so uneven the last 2 weeks that I've seen people get eliminated from the survivor pool thinking that the Cardinals were a sure thing. I won't go down that route. I won't go out hinging my bets on Kyler Murray and this Cardinals offense that looks to be a little out of sync. However, this game may not even be played right now. We don't know. I told you the Jets have been whisked away from their facility. And generally when it happens this late in the week, more likely than not, you're either getting postponed or you're getting you're going to get moved to a new day. I don't think this game is played on Sunday. We'll see. The Patriots game this past week was played with Cam Newton testing positive late in the week. So they just got to get these negatives from all the rest of the players and staff. If they're able to do that, this game will go off without a hitch. There's no Sam Darnold in this game if it is played. He's out. Remember, we talked about the shoulder injury that he sustained on Thursday Night Football last week versus the Broncos. He came back and played, but I told you once, that adrenaline is flowing and stuff, you can come back and play. But once that blood settles, the swelling starts to set in, it's going to change things dramatically, and it did. He's out this week, so Joe Flacco is going to get the start. And I have zero confidence in Joe Flacco's ability to get it done. After seeing him in Denver last year, no confidence. But that doesn't mean Joe can't turn back the clock on these boys and find a way to get it done. Look, I said all of that to say this. That stopped me from picking Arizona as my survivor pick. That did not stop me from picking the Cardinals to win the game. I'll take the Cardinals to win on the road versus what I've deemed to be the worst team in football in the New York Jets. Philadelphia Eagles at the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the Steelers are coming off of their de facto bye. It's not what they planned. It's not how they drew it up, but it's what ultimately happened. So they've had an extra week to prepare for the Philadelphia Eagles, who have come off of this improbable win on the road versus the 49ers to notch their first victory of the season and not only get their first win, but also to take sole possession of first place at 1-2-1, which is amazing in itself. That being said, here's a team that is starting to play with a little bit of confidence behind Carson Wentz, and we'll see if they continue to ride that wave that they created in week number 4. If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, I told you there's something off with the Steelers, especially on the offensive side of the football. Something's not right there. Haven't quite been able to put my finger on what exactly it is, but something's not right there. Defensively, I think they could have a field day against the Eagles. This defense is legit. It's for real, and I don't think the Eagles, with all the injuries that they have up front, I think it could be really problematic that Jordan Mailata is starting at left tackle and that we've seen some in and out from their right tackle as well. Lane Johnson and they've had to put in the rookie Jack Driscoll. They've got issues along that offensive line, and that's an understatement. And this is not the team you want to have issues against up front. I really think it could be a long day for Carson Wentz. It wouldn't shock me if he threw 2 interceptions in this game due to the pressure, fumbles, another play, and collectively they have 3 turnovers and they lose this football game. But I like Pittsburgh in this game to remain undefeated. I said all of that to say this. I like Pittsburgh to remain undefeated. It wouldn't shock me if Philadelphia went there and won. These are the types of games that in past years, when you think Philadelphia doesn't have a chance, they find a way to go on the road and win. But that was last week. That win that was improbable that you didn't see coming on the road, that was last week. I don't see them doing it 2 weeks in a row. Give me Pittsburgh at home. Los Angeles Rams at Washington. I will save that prediction for my show later on tonight, Washington Football Nightly. Miami at San Francisco. This is an interesting game because after the debacle that was Sunday Night Football, if you're not ready to come back with Jimmy Garoppolo, and I haven't really heard anything out of San Francisco in that regard, you got to go with C.J. Beathard, because of how bad Nick Mullins was. You got to go with C.J. Beathard. And the Dolphins right now, despite their record, they're playing some competitive-ass football. They took Seattle to the limit last week. Like, the score doesn't indicate how close that football got. They were up in that game in the fourth quarter, where the Miami Dolphins, before Seattle seized control and ran away with that game. So they're a dangerous team, man. And if they get clean play from Ryan Fitzpatrick, they're dangerous. And if San Francisco throws up all over themselves and they turn it over and they can't sustain offense, the Dolphins are fully capable of going to San Francisco and winning. As we've already seen, Santa Clara is not a home field advantage this year for the 49ers. Their 2 losses, both coming at home. All right, to teams that we felt like they should have been able to beat. Not necessarily Arizona in week 1, but this is a team right now that I'm not too sure of. That being said, I still like them over the Miami Dolphins for whatever reason. I could see that game going the other way, but I'm going to stick with the 49ers for now. Giants at Cowboys. This is so bad. It is. You got 0-4 versus 1-3, and it stinks. However, it's family business, and you know how the family do it. So I'm going to enjoy this. This is my family business. I'll be keeping a nice, keen eye on what the family's over there doing. And the one thing I can say about the Giants, their offense is atrocious. Man, does it stink. But they are playing some defense, man. They are keeping, outside of week number 3 versus the 49ers, their defense has been competitive in every single ball game. Week 1 versus Pittsburgh, week 2 versus the Bears, week 4 versus the Rams. They're keeping them in ball games. Their offense just isn't good enough to win them. So when you look at it from that perspective, I'm saying your strength of your team right now is your defense. The Cowboys can't stop anyone defensively, but your offense might not be good enough to take advantage of their porous defense. But your defense may be able to slow down what is one of the hottest offenses in football when they get their backs up against the wall. This makes for a really intriguing matchup. But at the end of the day, if the Giants just had a sliver of offense with the way they're playing defense, I think they could win this game. But because their offense is so bad, I just think Dallas is going to outscore them, even if that means just scoring 20 points. I don't know if the Giants are capable right now. They're that bad on offense. And because of that, I'll take Dallas in this football game. It should be a fun one, though. I don't think this is going to be a blowout or anything like that. I think this could be a close competitive game, and Dallas runs away with it late. Denver at New England. That's been moved to Monday, so we'll come back to that one. Indianapolis at Cleveland. This is one that I think a lot of people are split and torn on. I'm huge on Indy this year. You know that. Ever since their week 1 loss versus Jacksonville, they've won 3 straight, and they've looked really good doing so, especially on the defensive side of the football. If they want to go on the road and have success against Cleveland, they're going to have to have that defense show up again, because Cleveland right now is playing with an abundance of confidence on the offensive side of the football. I think they leave a lot to be desired defensively, and I think Phillip Rivers and company may be able to take advantage of that. But they haven't been this offensive juggernaut that I thought they had the capability to be this season. For whatever reason, T.Y. Hilton hasn't been a huge factor in the offense. They're still trying to work in their rookie wide receiver, Michael Pittman Jr. They've had some injuries. Obviously, the Ohio State wide receiver Paris Campbell continues to get injured. So for whatever reason, Marlon Mack gets injured. For whatever reason, their offense isn't clicking yet. But their defense is playing top-notch ball. And I think that with no Nick Chubb, I think they're capable of going there, slowing down the Browns' rushing attack, forcing Baker Mayfield to beat them. And I don't think he's in a position. He hasn't had to do that this season. He's been a passenger so far. The run game has been the driver. He's just been not making a ton of mistakes and managing the game. And if you need a crucial throw on third down, he'll be able to deliver every now and again. But he hasn't really been out in front of this thing. And in order for them to beat the Colts, I think he's going to have to be a bigger fixture and a bigger playmaker offensively. And I don't know if he's capable of doing that right now. So I know a lot of people are going with Cleveland in this game. I, however, am not. I'm going with that Colts defense on the road to continue to be stingy like they were against the Bears last week, holding them to 11 points. I know this is a much different challenge and a much different offense that they're facing, and they're on the road again. But I like Indianapolis in this football game. I'll take the Colts on the road. And that's one of those games that if you're going to have a good week, you need that one. Because a lot of people are going to go with Cleveland in that football game. I need that one. You know how the house needs a game where the public is just banging one side and they need the other side? I need this one bad. I need Indy in that game. Minnesota at Seattle, Sunday Night Football. When the schedule makers put this together, they thought they were getting a 2-2 Minnesota team versus a 3-1, 4-0 Seattle team, and this was going to be a hell of a game. Maybe 3-1 Minnesota team. Who knows? Instead, they're getting a 1-3 Minnesota team and a 4-0 Seattle team, and this game isn't as compelling as it once was thought to be. That being said, Kirk Cousins' kryptonite since he's gotten to Minnesota has been two teams. Chicago and Minnesota, and Seattle. Can't beat either one of them. So, to me, that trend continues. Now, Minnesota's defense looked better last week, but they played Houston, who has struggled offensively this season. Minnesota's defense has been terrible to this point. And if the trend continues with what Russell Wilson is doing, it could get ugly. This could be another 5-touchdown pass night if they don't shore up some things defensively. It'd be interesting to see if they get their defensive end, Danielle Hunter, back because he's eligible to come off of IR this week. If not, this could be a long day. And even though Seattle's defense isn't too hot right now, I'll take Russell Wilson for the win. So I'll take Seattle at home. And I told you, never bet against Seattle at home on primetime television. I know the 12th man isn't available, and it changes things. They're still at home. It's still Seattle. It's still primetime television. I still don't go against them. Monday Night Football. Let's go to Denver at New England. That's the first of the two Monday night games. I told you already earlier in the show how I'm starting to second-guess this pick. I got New England. Jarrett Stidham making his first career start. If Cam Newton can't go, I don't think that Cam is going in this game. I am really thinking about switching this pick to Denver. I've already made the pick on winners and losers. Can't go back now. That doesn't mean I can't change it here on the podcast. I think I'm just going to stick with New England. I may regret that. I really think Denver can go in there and win. Jarrett Stidham, young quarterback against Vic Fangio, who can be diabolical at times. No Stephon Gilmore, which makes it easier on that Broncos offense. I believe in Bill Belichick's ability to scheme it up against Brett Rippon. I just think he's going to force Brett Rippon into some mistakes, and they're going to find a way to win the game. And they're going to run the football effectively with Damian Harris looked really good. You know, the second, third round draft pick out of Alabama that they took 2 years ago. He looks really good, man. Or was it this past year? Whatever the case may be, he looks good. He looked really good in his first action. I think he's a rookie. Man, he looked good. Anyway, I digress. They got so many backs in New England. Yikes. Take the Patriots. Chargers at the Saints. I don't know if Michael Thomas is playing. I didn't know if he was playing last week. It didn't stop me from taking the Saints last week. So the Chargers are interesting because remember, I talked about this on the podcast on Monday, and it was just like a throwaway line. I said, I don't know how head coach Anthony Lynn could decide to go back to Tyrod even when he's healthy. Remember, he made the statement after Herbert's first start that when Tyrod's healthy, he's our quarterback. He's our starter. When he's 100% healthy, it's his job. And I understood that statement in the moment. It was one start for Herbert. Yeah, he looked good, but that was just one game. And then he followed it up with another good performance. Now, it was in the loss, and you'd like him to do more and find a way to help you beat Carolina at home, but he played well. Then you go and he goes toe-to-toe with Tom Brady in a shootout on the road, and you say, okay, I've seen enough. This is the guy. He gets it. He's got it. He's got to start. And I said that, and I didn't know if he was listening or not. Well, apparently he was listening because just yesterday, Anthony Lynn came out and said, hey, Justin Herbert, a.k.a. J. Herbo, as my man Craig likes to call him, he's the guy moving forward. We're going to roll with him. This guy's played phenomenal football. You know, you hate to see a guy like Tyrod lose his spot to something that was out of his control, but the young fella's balling right now. We're gonna ride the hot hand, and we like what we see, and might as well keep getting this experience while it's here to be got. I love it. You know, I told you, once you squeeze that toothpaste out of the tube, you can't put it back in. I've always made the analogy of once you open up that soda and you hear that first time you crack that soda open, you can't put it back in the pantry now. You can't have hot, flat soda. It's got to go in the fridge now. It's not optional. You've opened the soda. All the acid has come out. It's got to go in the fridge, and you got to drink it now. Same thing with the toothpaste. Same thing with a young quarterback. Once you throw him in the fire and he has some success, hey, let's just go ahead and ride this thing and see what it's all about. I'm not for yo-yoing my young quarterback back in and out of the lineup. Hey, he's good this week. We'll take him out. He's bad the next time. We'll take him out. We'll put him back in later. No. Let the young fella play. He's going to make some mistakes. He's going to make some plays, but we like what we see. Let's roll with it. He's the future. Let's get it started now. The sooner the better. So, love that decision. I said all of that to say this. It's not going to pay off on Monday, though. They're not going to New Orleans and beating the Saints, especially when the Saints see the opportunity that the Bears presented for them with their win over Tampa. Now the Saints see a path to which they can get back to first place in that division by the end of next week. Because if Green Bay takes care of the Buccaneers in week 5 or 6, and they take care of business in weeks 5 and 6, they'll both be 3-3. Saints hold the tiebreaker over the Bucs by virtue of their week 1 win over Tampa Bay. And they're now in first place again in the NFC South, which looked like a long shot just a week ago when they were 1-3 and the Bucs were 3-1. So I don't think they're going to allow this opportunity to pass them by. They smell blood in the water, and I think they're going to take advantage of this opportunity and they have a chance to get back to wait. I said they were 1-3. They were 1-2. They won last week, got them back to 2-2. Now they got a chance to get to 3-2, which would tie them with the Bucs. So I take that back. I misspoke. They got a chance to get a piece of first place this week. And they got a chance to take sole possession of first place next week with a win and a Bucs loss. So they smell blood. They smell an opportunity. I don't think they let that pass them. How many goddamn New Orleans Saints Monday night or primetime games are we going to get this year? God damn, it seems like these bastards are on primetime television every damn week. They were just against the damn Raiders a couple of weeks ago on Monday night. Now, that wasn't a home game. I don't give a shit. It was still Saints. The following week, they're on Sunday Night Football versus the Packers. Here they are on Monday night again against the damn Chargers. Well, shit, how many times you going to put these bastards on national television? Jesus. Let me get a Saints break after this. Let me get a 30-second timeout. I don't want to see them on primetime television for the next 3 weeks or so, at least, minimum. God damn. Anyway, our final game of the week, Buffalo at Tennessee, was originally scheduled for 1 o'clock on Sunday, moved to Tuesday at 6. We talked about that earlier in the pod. Look, for no other reason than I'm pissed at the Tennessee Titans for effing up the schedule. I want them to lose, and I want them to lose bad. All right, I'm petty. Yes, I'm petty. If you didn't know about me and my pettiness, you know now. I'm a very petty individual when I want to be. I try to take the high road most times, but I can be very petty. All right, shoot me. Okay. So, but what it all boils down to, really, because I can put my pettiness aside when it comes to winning or losing. I don't care if I don't like you. If I think you're going to win me a game, I'm going to pick you. I don't think they're a better team here. I think Buffalo's a better team, period. End of discussion. That's what it all boils down to is I think the Buffalo Bills are one of the better teams, not just in the AFC, but in the league. And because of that, I think they go to Tennessee and they win. And the Titans are going to have some players out of this game because of all these COVID tests. And so I think Buffalo wins that football game. So give me the Buffalo Bills on the road to remain undefeated. Meanwhile, the Titans fall from the ranks of the unbeaten, lose their first game of the season, and drop to 3-1 with the loss. But we will see what happens. So there you go. My week 5 money picks of the week. Feel good about them. We'll see what happens. Got off to a rough start with the loss on Thursday night, but it's not one that really concerns me. I'm looking to push forward and find a way to have a quality week in week number 5. So that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. I thank you guys for joining me on the 99th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. Look, we're about to turn 100 on this podcast. And you know what's so amazing about that is at one time, I really didn't know how this podcast was going to do. I didn't know if it would last the way that it has, because when I first started this podcast, nobody was listening. And, you know, when you do things like that, when you start an endeavor like a podcast and there is no feedback, you're getting nobody listening, you start thinking to yourself, well, why am I doing this? I'm doing this in vain. I'm talking to myself. I can talk to myself without recording and editing and uploading it. Like, I don't need to do all of these things if I'm just talking to myself. And so for a while there, I initially did like 25 episodes and then I stopped. And then, you know, the craziest thing happened. I had people reach out to me and say, yo, what happened to the podcast? I really enjoy the podcast. When is it coming back? And in my mind at the time, I was like, well, nobody's listening to the podcast. Why should I even waste my time? Like, I'm so swamped with all this stuff that I'm doing. I'm working a full-time job. I'm coming home. I'm doing all this stuff. I got to cut something out, and the podcast just seems like the ideal thing to cut out. It's not working. Nobody's listening anyway. And then I got like 5 or 10 people, and that meant a lot to me. 5 or 10 people reached out. I was like, yo, what happened to the podcast, man? I really enjoy that. I listen to it when I'm at the gym, or, you know, I really enjoy your commentary, and it's different. It's fresh. It's different than what you do on your channel. Where's the podcast? And I'm like, shit, well, people are actually listening, and they want the product. So, you know, I made it a point of emphasis to bring it back. And then I was inconsistent. I would do like 10 episodes in a row, and then I would go 3 or 4 weeks without one. And people were like, yo, what are you doing, man? You're killing me. Where's the pod at? And I'm like, I'm coming, man. I'm sorry. And now I just love that I've found a platform. I found a purpose for it, you know, and it's picking up a little bit of steam now. I think a lot of that has to do with me bringing it to this platform here on YouTube. But, you know, there's still the purists that listen to it on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, as it's called now, or, you know, Google Music Player, or Google Podcasts, as it's called now, or, you know, Stitcher, or, you know, TuneIn, or wherever you're getting it, man. And that's just a blessing. I really appreciate y'all. And at one point, I never thought I would make it to the century mark. But the next episode will be 100, and that's a big milestone for me, because I didn't know at one point if I was going to get there or not with this podcast, and it's starting to become something that I first of all, I always enjoyed doing it, but it's something now that I think you guys are starting to enjoy as well. So I thank you guys for the support and continuing to rock with me as we iron out some of the kinks here. But yeah, podcast gonna turn 100, man. Who knew? And so I appreciate you guys. With that being said, I'm going to glide to the side, allow you to get into your Friday activities. Friday is always the best day. All right. So if it's not your man T, it's not the best NFL coverage it could be. You guys know how this goes. So until next time, you guys take it easy. Enjoy all of the festivities, whether you're getting some of this MLB baseball playoffs, Game 5 of the NBA finals, I have not watched a single second. You know what's crazy? Before we get out of here, I was talking to my dad on the phone the other night, and me and my dad are massive NBA fans, especially postseason NBA. I could care less about the regular season, to be honest with you. I get into NBA playoff basketball. I love it, and so when we get to the finals, I'm all in. I'm every single play. I'm looking at down screens, doubles. I'm looking at everything, pin downs, and analyzing every aspect. I'm looking at adjustments, and I'm calling my dad at halftime of these games, and we're having a serious conversation because basketball was the sport that I played the most growing up. So baseball was my sport that I was the best at, but I played the most basketball because my dad was a hell of a basketball player. So he was my coach in basketball, he was my coach in baseball, but he was my coach in basketball for more years than for baseball. So we talk basketball. NBA finals, we get into the minutia of adjustments that need to be made, what this guy is doing, what that guy is doing, what they should do here, who needs to come off the bench first. And I called him up the other day, and we're both Braves fans, so we're talking about the Braves advancing to the NLCS, and we're talking about football. And then at the end, I threw it because he didn't bring up basketball at all. And I didn't bring it up because I haven't watched. So I threw this in at the end as a throwaway line, like, hey, boss, you been watching any of this finals? He's like, man, I just can't get into it, man. I haven't watched any of it. I said, man, me either. And I thought I was alone, but I just can't do it. This bubble NBA finals isn't the NBA finals to me. It just, for whatever reason. I'm enjoying MLB playoffs more than I am NBA playoffs. And I don't know why. I just am. I guess the fans mean more in the NBA. It just feels different. Home versus away. I guess with baseball, I can get by with the no fans in the stand. I don't care about that. You don't really even see the fans half the time in baseball. It just, the product feels real in Major League Baseball. Now, they did a whole bunch of stuff in the regular season, but the postseason baseball feels real for me in Major League Baseball. I just can't get into the NBA for whatever reason. But that's just me. You may enjoy that this weekend. I know a lot of Lakers fans that are excited. My man JP keeps, sending me tweets. One more game. I haven't been watching. I'm not going to lie to you. But at the end of the day, enjoy all the festivities. College football has been crazy. All right. Bunch of upsets. It's a weird college football season. That's another product that I'm looking at and I'm saying, ugh. And then you're going to add the Big Ten and the Pac-12 in later. It's a funky year for college football, but not going to turn it down. That's for damn sure. So in any event, you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll chop it up at a later date and time. Monday's pod will be the 100th here on the Louie T Network podcast. Looking forward to that. So until then, you guys take it easy. Have a good one. I'll see you next time. Peace. LouieTeeNetwork.